Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Elephant Exposed. I am your host, Mr. TNTBS, CJ Jones. And today I believe we have another good elephant to expose. So let's just go ahead and jump right on into it. Okay, so I have a scenario for you guys. Let's just say you heard of a story where a good Samaritan um, happened to intervene in what would have been a very violent and dangerous altercation. And this Good Samaritan just so happened to play a very intricate role in defusing what would have been a deadly situation. And what I mean by that, meaning that um, this Good Samaritan was able to not only de-escalate the situation, but take away the firearm of an individual that was using that firearm um, in a not only in a threatening manner, but actually using it as as a weapon to assault another person. So our good Samaritan happened to be able to intervene, take away the weapon, and subdue the assailant, the primary aggressor. Now, what would you say? Would you say, good job, pat on the back, hand clap? Would you do any of those things? Most of us would be very thankful. At least I would like to think so. And because of the person of who this person is, let's just say um that you're trying to play word games with me right about now. Let's just say, okay, well, I guess it all depends on who the who the person is, and what if the gun could have went off and da 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 da. And then I'll say, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit more detail. I'll say, let's just say this person has been very well trained in the area of de-escalation. They have been well trained in how to handle aggressive people in situations like that. And if that's not good enough for you, I'll say, okay. All wordplay aside, this person was a seasoned, well-trained uh member of our United States Armed Forces, more specifically a former Marine. Now, what would you say? Well, um, in fact, that was the situation. So here's the full story behind this. So according to different sources, and then the last source that I'm pulling from my notes is from the Washington Times. And so here we have a 57-year-old Black man by the name of Lloyd Mudrow. And he was out with some friends out at a bar. Um, uh, and a fight broke out between two other men. They were later identified as Mr. Wesley Henderson and Mr. Marshall Collins. And apparently, uh, the fight ensued over an ex-girlfriend. Was seen dancing with the newer guy, whatever. All right, but that's not the story. So let's not concentrate on that. According to um our former Marine, uh he said that he had saw the primary aggressor uh was reportedly which is Wesley Henderson, by the way. Um he repeatedly he repeatedly hit Mr. Cullen several times with the gun. And our Marine, Mr. Mudrow, who served in the Marine Corps Security Force Regiment, reacted by knocking Mr. Henderson down to the ground and holding him until the police arrived. Okay. Now, what are we thinking? So here's where, or here's the elephant about this situation. If I was still active duty and I came up on a scene, I was called to a scene like that, and I can clearly see, different people screaming and hollering and everything else. But then I'm looking at the situation, and it appears that a person is being held down on the ground. The first thing I'm trying to do is trying to know who is who, and that seems to be okay. Okay, and not only am I trying to figure out who is who, then the person that is talking to me clearly and more articulate, and I'm hearing witnesses verifying that, hey, what this person is saying is true, you are going to tend to lean towards the calmer, more cooler headed person that's talking. It's a natural thing to do for us to listen to people like that. That's human beings, period. So as the police officers are trying to make, ends of everything, it's finally being put out that this ex-Marine who is I'm sorry, not ex-Marine, former Marine. I'm sorry, I do not mean to offend my brothers and sisters. I know how we feel about our titles. He was able to defuse the situation. And upon everybody, recovering and being sought after their injuries and so forth, oddly, uh he was arrested. He was arrested for carrying himself a registered firearm. Now, I know that sounds very disheartening, and we do have the body camera footage that's going to lead up into the situation. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the video now, and I want to get your view as to what you think after I share my thoughts about the video. But here it is right now. By the way, obviously, this is the body cam video footage from one of the officers that was coming up on the scene. As you can see, people are distraught. And according to this video, this happened on July 4th of this year. And the guy that is wearing the hat and the what appears to be like the linen suit, and like he appears to be talking to the officer directly. This is Mr. Mudro. The belly button that you see underneath just his knee and thigh there, that's going to be Mr. Wesley Henderson. And Mr. Marshall Collins appears, I believe that's him, the heavier set gentleman in the all white with the bald head, just to the bottom right of the video. And these people over here to your left, who appears to be standing behind the police officer there, these are your witnesses that are trying to help articulate what the officers are walking in on.
Take all of them. They trying to beat the fuck out of him. Take all that ass. He's the
fuck up. So right here you see what appears to be one hand on the wrist, a white hand. It appears to be a white hand. And then so what Mr. Mudro is letting the officer know, the contact officer, the closest officer to him know, I do have a weapon. I do have a firearm, and it is registered. It is on my hip. Okay. So he's just being forthcoming. That's what we are trained to do for those of us who are responsible gun owners. And we are having an interaction with police officers because why? We want for them not to happen to just discover it and it end up costing our lives and everything else. So in a very relaxed state, calm voice, you let them know, hey, before we get up or do any of those things, I am such and such, and I do have a firearm on my person. Okay, you have a firearm on your person. Well, where is it? Okay, now basically, this is still good. Okay, this was handled perfectly. All right, you still want control because anything can happen. Even the person from under the bottom, now that Mr. Mudro has talked out loud and said where his firearm is, now what you want to do is make sure that that firearm is where no one can get to it. Okay, because remember, it's all about the safety of all. It's not just only about officer safety, it's the safety of all and everybody that's involved. So it's nothing wrong with how they are approaching the situation and how they are about to let Mr. Mudro up. Okay.
Mine is on my head.
And then they take his weapon. That's how they should.
But he's the valid one.
And then they secure his weapon. Okay. Now we see all three persons here. We see Mr. Mudro in the white hat. We see Mr. Henderson, the primary aggressor. He's right there in between Mr. Mudro and then Mr. Collins. And you got other several officers that are pretty much made like a semicircle around the situation. Even though you hear people yelling and stuff in the background, this is not a library. That's just how life situation goes. Okay. So through all this loud talking and everything else, you can still make out pretty much and pretty clear about what everything is going on. All right. So everything is still good here.
You okay? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Marshall, let him go. Let him go now. Right here. This one, right here. Relax, relax. Get up. I'm getting up. Marshall, let him go. Shit, we done had it today.
Okay. So now obviously they got the story. And so now everybody on top of the witnesses, on top of Mr. Mudro, complying with the officers and stuff like that. Now we're getting to the point to where now we can start apprehending people that need to be apprehended. Okay, so we have the primary aggressor that's about to get up. He's about to be placed in handcuffs. That's Mr. Wesley Henderson. And then Mr. Marshall, he was the man being assaulted. That's where all the blood and stuff is coming from. Is actually coming from him. So let's go ahead and watch this play on out. Okay, now here we go. It says the victim, Marshall C, that means Collins, who had been pistol whipped, speaks up for Mr. Muldrow. I'm sorry, Muldrow. That's our former Marine drill sergeant. Okay, so let's see what he got to say.
I stopped it because the victim's still here.
So if you hadn't helped me, the guy would have killed me.
So I understand.
Okay. So you have the first responder that the EMT got to our far left. You have the sergeant. That's the supervisor. I'm thinking that he's going to be the arresting officer to Mr. Mudro. Okay. And then you have one of the responding officers that's right there to our far right. And what Mr. Marshall Collins was saying was just trying to speak up for his hero of the night. Okay. Common sense. I mean, this man had a gun. It could have went way left, but thanks and due to Mr. Mudro's training and natural reaction to different things, he was able to not only de-escalate the situation, but actually save people's lives. You know, not only his, but the man could have just went crazy. You never know. So right now we're being thankful, but right now here's the confusing part.
It's I mean, look, the laws are the way they are in Maryland for handguns. Right to talk to city council, talk to your congressman about open carry, especially for a veteran.
Okay, so now we have the officers that are about middle of your screen there. So sitting in between the officer that's right here at the EMT truck, and you have Mr. Marshall Collins sitting over here to our far right in the white polo here. You can see Mr. Mudro, our former Marine, our well-trained former drill sergeant being arrested off of what I like to call a technicality. Just because someone breaks a law. But you know what? I'm a hold my mule right now. I'm gonna go ahead and let it play, and we'll get to my point here in just a second.
Got a valid carry in another state.
Okay, so upon realizing what happened, other first responders, so it was more than just one. Other first responders are offended about what's happening, about the arrest of Mr. Mudro.
So I mean, I know you can't.
If you're a cop, you can. Well, it's like it's a nationwide thing. He's now. It's in Baltimore. It's a misdemeanor, but it's still arrestable. I know this guy probably saved somebody's life, and he got arrested.
And there we have it, folks. And there we have it. Okay. So in case if you did not get what the officer was saying, first of all, I do like the professionalism that came from one of our first responders. He pulled the officer off to the side and was speaking to him very cool and clear about, hey, listen, man, this guy is not only a United States veteran, okay? He fought for everybody, okay? And he did what came natural to him, and that was to protect and defend the people of the United States of America through local and foreign and domestic violence, okay? And just because we don't wear our uniform anymore doesn't mean it doesn't take away the protector of us. That's what we would do. You know, it's we are conditioned that way now. We were trained that way, and that's what we would do. And it is somewhat, it ain't no somewhat, it's very disheartening to see my fellow brother in arms being arrested on a technicality, because let's look at what happened. What would have happened if he did not intervene? And the police are always called most of the time after the fact that tragedy has taken place. Now you have mass casualties and multiple bodies to deal with. 9 times out of 10, you cannot find the assailant and everything, and it becomes a big old mess. But because you want to be by the book, now you want to arrest this man for saving not only a life, possible multiple lives. We need to really look back into this law of concealed carry and carrying, period. And we're talking about responsible gun owners, okay? um, Mr. Mudro is obviously a very responsible gun owner. And um, it's a lot more of us out here than what is shown on big media platforms and everything. And so I personally commend Mr. Mudro for intervening the way that he did. He definitely, in my opinion, he saved not only Mr. Cullen's life, but probably the lives of many, many others. And I'm talking even collateral damage as well. He saved that business, collateral damage. Um, the officers had a easy arrest that evening. Um, but let's jump back on the law side. In the state of Baltimore, if you are carrying a weapon, even though it's registered, because it did not come from that state, um, it's it's a misdemeanor. I don't even know. I don't even have a response for that because once you are vetted, and especially and I'm talking about my concealed carriers now. Once we are vetted. That means that we are trusted with firearms. That means we have had our backgrounds checked and everything and mulled over more than the usual person that's just like wanting to be like open carry and so forth. Um, so before any of us cross state lines to any adjoining states, or if you're traveling or whatever, I would highly advise all carriers to not only plan out your trip, but check and see what state will honor your concealed carry. And if you don't, I know we will go ahead and comply with whatever that state is requiring you to do. And that was either contact state police or county or whatever you'll be traveling through and let them know who you are, what you got, and everything else. Because we don't want for things like this to take place. So I wish Mr. Mudro all the best. Um, um, I would be just as upset and distraught as our first responder and Mr. Mudro is apparently. So what's going to happen to him is that he's going to end up going to court, according to sources, um, on October 31st. And this is just laying out the law. What he could be facing is a $1,000 fine, and could and or with the possibility of imprisonment for up to a year. Again, I don't agree with that. I don't think it's fair. But we have to expose the elephant. We have to talk about what we know and what the facts are. And that's what this show is about. Um, Let me know what you guys think. Okay. And if you have any opinions, if you have any thoughts, please share them with me. I would love to know. Um, and I welcome any comments. I welcome all comments. I welcome all thoughts, because you never know, somebody might be looking at this a little differently. And it could be making sense to somebody else. Um, I would really love to hear it. Um, And that's pretty much all that I got for today. Until next week, I'll see you again.